welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the program, and it is show number 184. Happy to be live here on Facebook. Happy to be a member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, and wherever you are listening to your podcast, I'm excited to be on. Happy to be running Education, Leadership, and Beyond for 184 times. It's great. It's been a lot of fun, and we are going to have some fun today. I'm having one of my neighbors on, one of my friends, one of the guys from my local community. We are going to meet Hunter Newman, soon to be Dr. Hunter Newman very soon. Businessman, a medical professional, and someone who's excelling at a high level. So we are going to meet Hunter shortly. I do want to thank today's sponsor of the program, and that is Halvesies Cookies. Halvesies Cookies has been with me as a sponsor really since the start of the podcast. The holiday time is coming up. Check out their website, Halvesies Cookies. David Maffei runs them. He was a former educator, makes an amazing cookie. He vacuum seals them. Hunter, I'm going to send you some down there to North Carolina, and you'll be in, brother. They'll hook you. But amazing cookies. Murata15 is that discount code. Put that in there that you will get a discount. And I do want to thank David and his wife. They're having a baby soon. Good luck to the Maffeis. But holiday time, maybe you can't be with family and friends. You want to ship them something or you want to bring them. Check out halvesiescookies.com and discount code Murata15 will get you a couple bucks off. So thanks for tuning in today, everybody. Show number 184. Let's get rolling. The opening concept. I was sitting at my daughter's soccer game this weekend out in the cold. I had the blanket, the hat, the whole thing. And she's 10, right? So we all know youth soccer. Very vocal on the sidelines, right? And sometimes too much. So the ref is an old timer. He's this guy, and you can tell he's reffed 1,000 games. I loved him. He was like, he felt like your old uncle on Thanksgiving, right? He was talking to kids, advising them this and that. And he blows the whistle real forcefully, and he kind of, instead of just blowing the whistle and pointing, he's like, hey, you can't do that, right? Don't push her, because the girl had pushed her. And everybody was like, and I said to myself, man, I love this guy. I kind of said it quietly. I love this guy. And the guy right behind me, as soon as I said that, said, man, I don't like this guy. Like simultaneously as I said that. And I just laughed to myself. Here, I think this guy's doing a great job. And the guy right next to me said the exact same opposite, and we're watching the same exact thing. So I share that story because it's typical of leadership. You got to do the best you can with what you got. You always want to learn, you always want to grow, you always want to improve, but there's going to be people out there that don't like your work. There are going to be people that are not fans of what you're doing, and you just have to accept that. I thought the guy was doing a great job. You're going to get critiques. You're going to get people that aren't fans of your work. And it's just part of the business. It's part of being a leader. You're never, ever going to get 100% approval rate, nor should you try, right? You should try to be the best you can with what you got. You always want to add to your game. You always want to improve and grow. But no matter what it is, there are going to be people that aren't happy. So a little leadership story to kick us off. But I know you're not here to hear me. You are here to meet today's guest and get to know a little bit about Hunter Newman. And I want to welcome him to the program. There he is from North Carolina. Hunter, welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really excited to have you. Good to see you. You were good looking back when you were in high school. You're even better looking now.
Thanks, I appreciate that, Mr. Murata.
Yeah, well,
you have to say that to your guest.
Nah, you could call me Andrew Hunter, and I'm excited to have you on. For those that are watching, this is Hunter Newman. Hunter is a PhD student, a doctoral student at Duke University. I want to make sure I'm saying this right, Hunter. And it is in the field of. Well, go ahead. You say it. It's in the field of.
Yeah, it's in the field of mechanical engineering and material science. That's what the PhD is in. And my research is more in the biomedical engineering type side.
Wow.
Kind of
and for the layperson, Hunter, tell us what that is. What are you going to do with this PhD?
Yeah, so I I personally, a lot of people do different things with PhDs, but I personally want to use my research. I do research in the orthopedic bone field, and we came up with an injectable device that we believe is going to better or accelerate fracture healing. So that's kind of a little easy description of what I want to do. So we're hoping to start a company and make this hopefully into a product that goes into clinic.
Dr. Newman, fixing bones all over the country. That is something that happens often to people. And so you're saying that you think this device is going to be able to heal fractures faster?
Faster and like a better chance, especially the ones that have low chance of healing or from high trauma or something of that nature. So.
Hunter, that is awesome to hear that. We're going to talk about this journey you're on. Hunter is from Milford, PA. We grew up right near each other. Our home's very clear. We know each other's families, each other's dogs. So, Hunter, I've been wanting to have you on the program for a while. I've always been impressed with you, your work ethic, your academic status, your drive, all of those things. So, let's start back when you were in high school. Hunter, you were the valedictorian of Delaware Valley High School, and I know there's some people watching from back home. Was that a goal? Was that something that you said, hey, I want to be the top student in my class?
It wasn't the goal until, once I got into high school. I think you get kind of into that competitive niche. I've always been competitive, so I feel like that was just one aspect that allowed me to focus on and be excited about the school aspect. It wasn't a goal originally, but once it started happening, then it kind of became a goal later on. So yeah, I think it's the competitive nature though that kind of.
And was it like eighth grade, freshman year? When did you realize like, hey, I'm pretty smart. Like I can do this. I could be the top of my class.
I think it was in middle school. I had a couple of my teachers that were really promoting me for math, science, and those were what my two interests. Obviously, I still follow those interests today. But I think when they kind of told me that, I kind of tried to take it up to the next level, and I kind of just stayed on that path going forward. I mean, DB had a specific route for math, science people, and I kind of fell into that route and just kept kind of pushing through that. So. That's kind of where it started, but it ended up being a crazy
And I
ride.
believe in the power of a single experience, Hunter. I believe that we as educators have that ability to reach out and let kids know and say, hey, you can do this, and kind of open that door for you. And you said that had some people talk to you there. So when you graduated, when you got to that level, what did that feel like? What did that accomplishment feel like to you?
It felt good. I thought it was gonna, be what's the right word? More meaningful at the time, but then it was just kind of like, all right, next step. Like, what am I doing next? I think the most important thing was just doing as well as you could to get to, a good university, and that was my job. Even if it wasn't top or one or two, is to get into the best university that I could get into. So whether I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think I still would have gotten to the same university. So. But I think like getting to that goal and being able to hit that after 5 years was definitely a good little pat in the back. But
yeah. You like a New Englander, you landed in Boston College like Belichick. After he wins the Super Bowl, he says, "Okay, let's get the next day's practice ready." But you went to Boston College. Tell me about making that decision and what was that like for you and your family?
Yeah, so I was lucky that my parents, were supported me in going to whatever university I wanted to. They really encouraged me. I was the first one in my family to like go away to college. So my mom had gone to college. She's obviously, her. She's an educator, so she's a teacher, master's now. She does 2 masters or something like that. So she's educated, but they never went away to college. Nobody in the family. So that was kind of a big step for me. I didn't have, my grandparents didn't do that either. So that was kind of interesting. But it was just kind of looking at all the schools. My parents took me on tours of a bunch of the schools that I was applying to. And there was just something about BC. It was the first university I visited. And I really just had a good connection there. I really liked the campus, the people. it's a Jesuit school, so I like the Jesuit Catholic kind of like education and that connection into people for others type of mentality. So I think that all kind of resonated with me, and it just seemed like when I was making the decision, it was the best choice for me. And obviously, the academics is top notch. So,
and I know some people are watching live. You want to jump in the show here and ask a question, leave a comment for Hunter and I. That would be great. Hunter, people look at successful people like you, right? The top academics, athletic. You were on. It was soccer, right? You played soccer.
Soccer, basketball, baseball. Soccer's the only one all 4 years, but yeah.
But and they look at you and say, "Oh, wow, he's got it easy," or "He's really smart," or "He's in good shape." But behind that, it's a lot of hard work. Talk to me about the work and maybe some of the challenges you had in those, 8 to 10 years of heavy duty academics.
Yeah, so BC was 4 years. BC was very eye-opening. You come from, Milford, small town. So big fish in a small town saying, and then you go to BC and yeah, you're just another regular sized fish. So that was pretty interesting. BC is, I went to the kids who had taken classes that I was taking as a sophomore at BC. Wow. They were taking in their high schools. There's different, organic chemistry people were taking in high school. So there's a different level, but you get to find your own, and you find like your strength. And it does take a lot of hard work and dedication. And there are definitely some failures there, but either can learn from them and kind of make yourself better, figure out different ways to get better, or for me, and a lot of people at BC has like a pretty interesting mentality of like go, competitive, very competitive school, but kind of brings everybody up to their best ability. So I felt that in there, but there's definitely a huge learning curve, and I was very humbled going to BC.
Yeah.
I do have to say
and did
that.
People tell you that like before you left, like, hey, you're going to Boston, you're going to a top academic school, like, or was it like a brick wall that you hit into?
People said that, but I feel like when you're in the moment, it's hard to relate unless those people went and had that same experience. And I wouldn't say a lot of people did, especially that I knew from Milford. So it was a little bit of a brick wall, but I got back up on my feet and kind of found my niche and what I was good at, and kind of started to like drive my path that way. But yeah, it was definitely eye opening. Yeah, and you meet a lot of different interesting people, especially.
Well, one of the people you met there has become your fiance and is soon going to be your wife, and she moved there with you in North Carolina. Yeah. You're going to be marrying this young lady soon. Tell me a little bit about her, Hunter, and what does this relationship mean to you, especially since you bonded at BC there?
Yeah, we met freshman year. Nikki is her name, and yeah, we've been dating, I guess, 9 years now. So yeah, and actually, the surprising fact, you think, we were in school for a 3 years together after we started dating, but we've actually spent more than half of our relationship long distance for education. So after BC, I did my master's at Tufts University. She came down here in North Carolina, worked as a nurse. I came down here and worked before I applied to PhD programs, and then she went back to Boston College for graduate school. So then I was down here in graduate school, she was up there. So she actually just graduated from BC again in May, so now she's back down. But yeah, being able to have somebody that one is relates with the education and how we drive ourselves with that is that's something I need, because we could support each other. It's easy to support somebody else if you know they're going through something similar, especially graduate school. And obviously we grew up together. Essentially, we started dating when we were 19. So there's nobody that knows me better. So she supports me on that journey. Graduate school, I supported her, and she supported me on my future endeavors as well. So I like to say we're a pretty solid team. So, and I think that's the most important relationship I've ever made.
Awesome. Congratulations. I know that wedding's coming up. And you guys are working hard. It's great. I'm looking back down towards the other way now. I've been married 20 years, but it is inspiring. It is nice to see young people getting together and doing great things. And you and your wife are doing that. And congratulations. Hunter, you mentioned your parents a couple times. Allison, don't be shy. I know you're watching, so you can jump in the show with a question or a comment. But I love your parents. I love your brother. Sawyer, we'll give him a shout out. But tell me about some of those lessons that you learned from your parents and some of the things that you take with you now as a young leader yourself.
Yeah, I definitely take, a lot from my parents. Obviously, they were the ones who would give anything for their kids. They would give up anything. I think I always say my dad is the most selfless person I've ever met, and I hope, I aspire one day to be as selfless as him. I mean, you have to convince that guy to treat himself. So, or you just buy him gift cards, you buy it for him because he won't do it for himself. But yeah, just that drive to, hey, do whatever you need to do in order to get where you want to be, and do what you want to make you happy. They always said, we want to give you the opportunity to find something that you're really passionate about, because then you won't work a day in your life. And they've supported my dreams change pretty dramatically, but they've been supporting me throughout all of that, and they're always down to help me or my brother out with a drop of a hat. And they'll do some crazy things, drive through middle of the night down to North Carolina if they need to. So those are definitely some things that I take from both my parents. So I said what I took from my dad, and then my mom's just always trying to make herself better. I mean, she's still taking classes, so I can complain when I'm like, oh, I'm 28 and I'm still in school, but my mom is still taking classes. So I guess that brings me back down to earth a little bit. But yeah, so there's a lot of things I've learned from them.
Yeah, amazing people, great parents. Your father can fix anything. he's fixed stuff at my house, and it's great. So
I don't have that, but
well, you're going to be making things to fix some things, and you're going to be entering a new phase of your life. Your parents gave you this platform, like you said, and you've taken full advantage of it. So you're in the PhD program, and again, you talked a little bit about creating this device with the bones, and tell me about being you're at the top of, I mean, there's the Ivy Leagues, there's Duke, there's a PA, like you are at the top academic setting, Hunter, and excelling. You're going to create a company. What is it like to be around such top minds, such top people that the work you're doing? What's that like?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think all PhD students go through it. It's called Imposter Syndrome. You really don't think that you're supposed to be there, or that maybe you don't deserve to be there. And, especially at a place like Duke, you meet people from all over the place, have all different backgrounds, all different experiences, and, they're just top of their game. They're getting, professors getting world recognition, things of that nature. And then you kind of realize you're lucky to be around and surrounded by that, because then that's something you aspire to do. Like my boss, my PI, she's world renowned. I mean, I think she's a full professor in like 4 different academic departments, in the medical school and engineering. So yeah, I think all of us experience this imposter syndrome, but it's definitely like I've realized being from a small town in Milford to BC was a big jump. And then there is another jump being in like the graduate stuff in the research specific side of Duke, because Duke's one of the top funded for research. So yeah, it's definitely scary at times, but it helps you be the best that you can be, because it makes you want to be at that level and looked at the same one day, as I or other students look at the people we work for. So.
Well, you use the word lucky, and I know it's been a lot of hard work for you, and that you've busted your butt. You might feel lucky, but that's hard work, Hunter, and we're proud of you back here and rooting for you. Hunter, another thing I admired about you and your brother is just your fitness. You were always in good shape. You're always just taking care of yourself. And now that you're a full adult here, tell me about how do you manage all the work you're doing, all the research, all the work you're putting in, but then you make time to stay physically fit. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think that's my best stress reliever is going to the gym. So I really try to do that, 6, 7 times a week if I can. And the best way to fit it in is I always say that nobody is looking for me or expecting me to reply to emails or anything at 5 in the morning. So I get up at 5:30 in the morning every day because my fiance gets up to go to work at 5:30 every day, and I just go to the gym before work. So when I get in, I'm up and ready to go. But yeah, no, it's good to have another avenue to relieve stress. And when I don't work out, I definitely feel the ramifications of that. Both on my body, I feel more tired, lethargic. Even though you feel sore sometimes, it's definitely better to get those endorphins going. And then, I have my brother who's now a bodybuilder. So he's also a kind of an encouragement because he'll text me every day and how's the workout because we follow the same routine. And if I didn't go, then he's like, what do you mean you didn't go? So it's good to have somebody else there kind of pushing you as well. But my fiance is big into it too because she has a pretty stressful job. She is a nurse anesthetist, so she puts people to sleep. So when you go to get your surgery done, you think anesthesiologist is putting you to sleep. It's probably her. So she's a pretty stressful job too. So she also, her avenue is important to keep, a good healthy passion outside of just work.
Hunter, talk to me about that discipline, right? People, the older generation's always like, this younger generation. But I don't think you're a millennial. You're a little bit above the millennials, right? You're a little bit older?
Yeah, 93. No, I'm technically a millennial. I'm not Gen
You're in
Z.
there.
I don't know.
But I'm in my
Yeah.
40s, right? There's a feeling like, these kids in their 20s, they're not, disciplined. And you're saying otherwise. You are extremely disciplined with your time, with your help, with your focus of your work. Where does that structure and discipline in your life come from?
I feel like I don't know. That's hard. I think it's a mix. There's one, I couldn't do any of this without having discipline. There's just too much going on. You could work 24/7 and not accomplish the same things if you're not efficient enough. So efficiency is definitely one. Balancing your time is huge. I know my mom. I think she wakes up at 4 o'clock every day and works out as well. So there's that. And my dad's like the hardest working person I know. So I think it stems from them a little bit, but also being in the field that I'm in, you need to have that. Otherwise, you'll just kind of get left behind. So I feel like it's a adapt or die type of situation. Especially in the field of in the stuff that I want to do. So yeah, I feel like I don't have a choice, but there's a healthy way to go about it. So that's what I try to do.
So tell me about this product. How do you go from being a PhD student to owning your own company and then getting people to use this product or the procedure you're talking about?
Yeah, so it takes a very long time. A lot of it involves the research, the thesis work that I'm doing, the dissertation. So some of that technology is involved with my research. So you could argue that then I will, when I graduate, be an expert enough in that technology to develop it and see it forward. But there's a lot of regulatory hurdles. You got to go through the FDA. You got to get multiple clinical trials. You got to make sure it's safe. So that's an 8-year process. So it's a long, arduous process, but hopefully it's a therapeutic that will benefit a lot of people. So, but yeah, it kind of stems from my work that I do now.
I'm excited. A pro athlete's going to be breaking the bone and they're going to be calling you in and they'll be back on the field in a week. That's exciting. But Duke Medical, you hear that all the time. That's amazing. Hunter, let's shift gears a little bit. You heard my opening concept about leadership and people's opinions, right? And again, you were the valedictorian, you were an athlete. What were your thoughts on that opening concept of really, it is what it is about people's opinions? What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a tricky balance. You can't make everybody happy, especially if you're you're trying to accomplish something. You do your minimal to insult people and hurt others, but you're not always going to make everybody happy. So that's going to hold true in leadership. It's going to hold true in running a company, hiring people. But you try to do what's best overall, for either the company, for you, for yourself, depending on what situation you're in. But yeah, there's always going to be people being negative. And as long as you're doing the best you can, I feel like, you have to ignore some of the negative.
Because you're going to have this mix of biomedical engineering background, business, and leadership. Really, that's going to be the work you're doing, and the leadership component is going to be a big part of that, because you're going to have all these people working for you and all of that. So what would you say, Hunter? You're 28 years old. What would you say about your leadership at this point in your life?
Yeah, I haven't had a ton where I hire a bunch of people, but I do collaborate a lot with and have these group projects, because one thing I do know is that there are some things that I'm really good at, but I couldn't accomplish any of the stuff that I'm doing without a team. So I wouldn't necessarily. I lead my project, and I lead the moving parts of who works and helps me with what parts of my project. But it's definitely going to be interesting going forward when a lot of the people I'm working with, they're my equal. So and I have some undergrads and stuff, but it's a little different. I'm not hiring them, encouraging them and trying to help them, but not hiring them. So that will be an interesting transition. But I feel like if you can learn why people are feeling certain ways, and if you think it's an appropriate or feasible change to make the situation better for somebody who's working for you, then I feel like you should make an effort to try to fix that. But I think it all evolves from communication between you and the people you do work with or who work for you.
100% well said. If you're watching live, if you're watching recording, I would love a comment. You want to jump in with a question for Hunter, please do that. Hunter, you shared about, in the growth, right, from high school valedictorian, Boston College, Tufts, to where you are down in North Carolina now, some growing points for you. And one of them was about, being closed-minded when making some decisions. And you talked a little bit about that. And tell me about that and how you've grown from it and how you look differently at some things now.
Yeah, I had super early goals. I think that I wanted to. I originally wanted to be a medical doctor and go into the field of medicine and treat patients. And going through BC, going through some of those classes, and then going to Tufts, I actually took some medical school courses because I was questioning what I wanted to do. And I kind of it was a hard realization because I had this dream since I was little. But I realized I wasn't as passionate as I thought I was about it. And it was really, I felt like I went through kind of closed-minded. I went through BC and did a ton of research. I had my fiance saying, "You love research. Like, why don't you go into that?" And I feel like, she was right. But I was being closed-minded in that I wasn't open to other ideas. And but now I feel like because I was able to, I finally made that transition, that change, that to break from what I originally thought, and that was a hard decision, but it was the best decision I ever made. Because now I'm like really passionate about what I do and I love it. So, but now I feel like I approach situations with a more open mind because I know the negatives that can come out of being closed-minded. So those are my big transitions.
You said something quick in there. She was probably right. You'll be saying that a lot. Yeah. And then Hunter, right? Like to hear you talk about that. Yes, absolutely. But the other part of it is that you had a vision, you had a dream, you had a goal, right? And along that journey, it changed a little bit, right? But the other part of it is that you had that vision. So many people, so many kids, so many, you ask them what they want to do. Like, I don't know. Like I haven't, you had a vision. It might have been strong, but you turned a little bit and that's great. But it's nice to hear you talk about that. And that's why it is good to have people in your corner, like your fiance, that you listen to. Yeah.
Yeah. I realized that, I like the flip side. I want to do with the medical innovation,
Yeah.
not necessarily the patient care. So,
Well, good for
direct patient
you.
care,
Good for
obviously.
you for realizing that, and good
Eventually
for
it'll
you
treat
again for
people.
your fiance to be in your ear and making that suggestion, and then you listen. So, Hunter, we're going to get to rapid fire here. I know you have another meeting coming up, and but before that, Hunter, was there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share, or something that you wanted to say?
Nothing in particular. I thank you for coming on to this. It's people like you. I used to work for you back in the day. Encourage you. Doing little jobs around the house and such. It's people like you that really help us kind of create this foundation so that we can go off to these other places
Yeah.
and be better.
Well,
So
and
I
right
do
back
thank you for
at you
that.
because you're inspiring. You guys were inspiring back then, and you're inspiring now, and you're going to go on to do great things, Hunter. Your parents gave you that foundation, but you've built upon it. You're really building, and it's nice to see. So it's inspiring for me. So right back at you. But let's get to rapid fire, Hunter. These are quick answers. The first thing that pops in your head. You're a busy guy, so I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to fit in, but here we go. Not a research book, but the last book you read.
It was a personal finance book. I
Yeah,
can't
you'll be
remember the
doing some
name,
of that
but
too.
it was
Last
about
movie you
investing.
saw. Okay,
Fun
you
guy.
got
I
to
went
do
to the
that.
movies a month
Favorite
ago.
place to
Yeah.
travel? You've been up and down now a bunch of different places. Where's your favorite?
I don't think I have a particular favorite. Anywhere new. We like exploring new places, trying out new food, trying out
Awesome.
new
Great
culture,
answer.
environment. So
I know
anywhere
you're a
new.
big fan of education, leadership, and beyond, but outside that, what's a podcast or a blog or something that you subscribe to and you take in regularly?
Yeah, I'm in biotech, so I listen to, it's called The Long Run. It's a biotech and
Cool. He
entrepreneur
better be having
podcast
you on
by
soon.
Luke Timmerman.
You talked about working out as a stress reliever.
One day.
What's either a wind down in the evening or a waking up in the morning strategy that you would share?
Just setting your alarm. If you set your alarm and you wake up, I set my alarm and I immediately jump out of bed. I don't sit there. I don't hit snooze.
And that, they say that's what you got to do. Just go. I'm working on that. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Hunter, what's a pet peeve of yours? You shared some passion. What's something that really bothers you? He's frozen. Hopefully he'll be back. Or maybe he just doesn't want to answer that question. Hunter, are you there? Did I lose you? He's coming back. I heard something. Maybe he didn't like the question. Maybe he doesn't have any pet peeves. Hunter, you want to jump off and then come right back on? You want to do that? There we go. I hope I didn't lose him. We're going to wait a minute, and hopefully he'll be right back with us here. If you are still tuned in, stay with us. He'll be back, and here he comes. Here he comes. Great. There you are.
Yeah, sorry.
It happens. It's technology.
Pet peeves? Yeah, I know. Pet peeves. I don't have a ton of pet peeves. I guess it would be, working in a team and people not giving it their all.
At that level, hopefully you won't have much of that, but I can't imagine that. Thanks for jumping back in. At 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I feel, fill in the blank.
I feel that I have time to relax a little bit before I go to the gym and then get moving. I feel like weekends I try to not sit around too much. I try to get the most out of my weekends because I know I'm going to have a busy week.
Do you rest a little bit there? Do you take a breather?
Yeah, a little bit.
Good.
A little bit.
Best purchase under $100 that has had a great impact on your life.
I'll come back to that one.
Okay, he's coming back. The BC Eagles mean blank to you.
Yeah, I mean that's my undergrad, so they mean a lot to me. That was a pivotal point of my turning point in my life. It helped me grow up a lot. So they mean and obviously I met my fiance there. It was the most important part of my life.
Yeah. When Boston College plays Duke, what's happening? Who are you rooting for?
You got to go for BC. You got to be loyal to your undergrad.
It's been a rough go with BC and Duke there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But still, you got to be loyal.
That's right. They'll be back. Something about Hunter Newman that people do not know about.
Even though I do a lot of the stuff, I do get super stressed sometimes. And I do need to take, a breather and kind of reorient myself on how better to spend my time and accomplish my tasks. So yeah, I do get stressed, even though I don't let on that much that I do.
Yeah. Well, good for you. You have to do that. Life is short, Hunter, and that's important that you realize that now. Hunter, you talked about some of these things you got going on. Give me the 3 to 5 year plan. What's a 3 to 5 year kind of goal that you have that you want to be at?
Yeah. So right now I got to finish my PhD. So I'll finish that in the upcoming year or so, a little bit year and change. And then it's really, driving this technology and driving this company to hopefully grow and start getting through clinical trials. That's kind of the early plan. We won't be necessarily, hopefully we'll be in the middle of it in the 5 years. So it's a long goal, but hopefully we'll take some appropriate steps in the meantime.
That's incredible, Hunter. I'm so proud of you, so happy for you. You're going places. If someone's watching this and they have a student who's maybe thinking about medical school, or thinking about BC, if they want to reach out to you, Hunter, what would be a great way for people to get in touch with you? I mean, is there a way someone can contact you if they were interested in speaking to you?
Yeah, I'm definitely LinkedIn's a good one. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also my email, just my name, hunter.newman@duke.edu. I'm pretty responsive with email too. So yeah, if anybody wanted to reach out, they could definitely do that. And I'm pretty good at responding. I would say that.
Well, I'm sure you're going to have some people that want to work with you and maybe have some questions either about their children, the valedictorian, the whole thing. You've hit so many good hits over the years here. So, Hunter, I like to end with a quote. You said a bunch of cool things. I like that you said about doing what you have to do to get where you have to be. Is there a quote you have a favorite that you want to share to end the program with?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm a quote guy.
Yeah, I mean, I do, one thing I do live by is that the answer will always be no if you don't ask. And that's kind of something I live by, and kind of helps me propel forward and not be nervous to put myself out there. Not having fear of rejection has actually propelled me in my career a bunch of times. So just ask when you need help. And yeah.
Great answer. This is Hunter Newman, PhD student. Hunter, when you come back home, we'll get some Joey's Pizza and a beer on me. I'm proud of you, and this was inspiring for me. I want people to be inspired by the show, but this was inspiring for me to hear from you. So I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Again, it's good to catch up and connect.
Cool. If you're watching this, you're a DV grad, you're a DV staff member, certainly leave them a question or a comment on there. I do want to thank again today's sponsor, Havesies Cookies. Hunter, I'll send you a pack there. The discount code is Murata15. I don't know if it's going to help you in your medical career and your fitness career, but you are going to enjoy those cookies.
I love cookies, so.
We are going to sign off here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. This is show number 184. I am at Andrew Murata 21 on Twitter. This was Hunter Newman, again, DV grad and Duke University PhD student. Hunter, it's been an honor to be with you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
All right, stay tuned. Hang there. Signing off, everybody. And again, if I can help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for tuning in to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.